Morning chaps, Gary here, Gary's Practical Workshop. First of all, I think I'm going to have to owe you all an apology. I won't be able to do the project at this moment in time that I discussed in my last video, which was the planning of the Z1 engine coming out, which was the original engine, and the one I showed you on video going in. Unfortunately, my motorhome engine is blown up. Major problems with it. This piston bypass, crankcase pressure, injectors have been renewed. It just goes on. So we've got a lot of work in front of us with that particular vehicle. So that's going to put me back a bit. However, we will get to it sooner or later. But please bear with me because I've got to get the motorhome sorted out. Today, I thought I would do a short video really on my old-fashioned Z1, which has old-fashioned points. Nowadays it's all electronic, so you just basically don't have to worry about your timing. But on these old boys, we have a set of contact breakers. I think they call them contact breakers in the good old USA, across the pond. Welcome everybody if you're watching from the pond or across from the pond. We call them points, but they do much the same thing. They basically allow the circuit to open and close to send a small pulse to the coils, which then gives you your high tension pulse to your spark plug for your ignition spark. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and set the camera up down there so that you can see the way I do it. This is just the way I do it. There's many ways of doing it. I believe you can use a stroboscope, sometimes known as a strobe. And I also believe there are other tools out there which you can use. But the way I tend to do it is with a simple bulb and a light. I use the battery on the bike, and I basically try and set it so that as you turn the crankshaft on the relevant particular set of pistons, bear in mind two coils. Coil 1 would power or spark cylinder 1, cylinder 4, and coil 2 will spark cylinder 2 and cylinder 3. So we have to be a bit careful. We've got two markers on the auto advance mechanism, mechanical, not electronic, mechanical. And we need to put it on T14 for one set of points and T23 for the other set of points. But you'll see how I do it as I go through it. Bear with me, I'm going to see if I can set the camera up and then carry on from there. What I've got here is two sets of points on this Z1. We've got 1 and 4 for cylinders 1 and 4, and these set of points fire those two. And over here we've got 2 and 3, and this set of points fires those two. Now you can see, obviously, looking at where the lobes are that get pushed out to open the gap, they're 180 degrees more or less apart, which would be normal because obviously when one's bottom dead center, the other one's top dead center. Inside this little window here, we have some information on a little device called auto timing mechanism. And I won't go into that at this point, but basically there's weights in there that are thrown out on a central pedal force, which changes the position rotational wise of the little cam. So it advances the ignition as the revs increase. But put that to one side, we don't need to concern ourselves about that today. Let's just talk about the timing. Now obviously the gap of these points is quite important. You don't want the gaps too big, and we will need to make sure that the contacts on these points are clean. These points are not, if I'm being honest, are not that good. They are worn, and as you can see, I'm on the end of my settings here, how far I can travel on the back plate, which is probably not a good idea, especially this set for 1 and 4. 2 and 3 are not too bad, but 1 and 4, that could really be that could really do with a new set. Having said that, you would renew both sides, this side and that side at the same time. It just makes sense to do it, and possibly renew your condensers. I don't know, for the people that don't know, condensers, from what I understand, they stop the points from arcing, but to a degree, I think you'll get some arcing, but they're supposed to reduce that. So let's talk about the timing. I've got a 17 mils spanning, 17 mil nut here, which is the crank, as everybody can see. And I've put a little mark on here. That's the high point on the lobe. Can you see that little mark, that little black mark? So I know that when it's coming round to this point here, where the other opposite end of the points are, it's going to open it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it onto T14. Now T14, the T is for timing up in the head for the valves and the camshafts. There's also next to the T14 marking an F, and the F is the timing mark for fire. And I'm going to show you something here if I can get my screwdriver in there. I haven't got my screwdriver, it's on the bench, never mind. Just in here, there is a little scribe mark. This boss, hope you guys can see that. This little boss here has got a line on it, and that is the timing mark. That's static. That stays, it doesn't move. It is part of the casting. But it tells us that that is where our data point is for the F mark on the auto advance mechanism. So what I'm going to do is turn this round. I don't know if you can see it in there. We'll try and keep the light in there, and we'll see we're coming round to 4. Now I've also got, I'm just going to show you something else. I've got a spark plug there. That's number 4 spark plug. And I've deliberately taken that out. And we should, I don't know if the mic will pick it up, but we should, as we go past 4, we should hear a tick, which means that it's going to fire. Obviously the ignition's on, the kill switch is on. So let's see what happens. Oops, I'm just going to pull that up. Look again closely. Did you see that spark? And that spark, if you look in there, I don't know if I can get that in there. That is on F T14. It's devil's job to film. Can you see that? There you go. I'll put that back now, so I don't lose the position of the camera. So we know now that as we come round to that F, we get that spark on the plug. Coming round, coming round, coming round. Coming round. And there's the spark. And it's smack bang on the F mark and the strobe mark, on the smack bang on the F mark and the casting mark here. That's obviously the timing done for cylinders 1 and 4. Now, there is another way of doing it, and this is probably an easier way, because seeing the spark on the spark plug is pretty minute. So another way of doing it is have my system here, which is not my system really, it's something I picked up going back years ago. We put a lead on the battery, positive, we take it down, it runs through here to another lead, and it goes to a bulb. And the bulb, in theory, will stay on until the point's open. So if I go back to way past F on 1 and 4, and this is 1 and 4, I expect you can see that bright light. There you go. As I come round on the crank and I creep it round, as it comes round to F, the bulb should go out. We're getting there slowly, creeping, creeping, creeping. There it is. It's just gone out. And at the same time, we got a spark from the plug. I heard the little click. Obviously it needs to be very quiet to hear that, but you can hear that spark. But obviously looking at the F and looking at this plug, a bit difficult to do, but you can hear it. So we know that as that crank comes round now, and the two marks F and the casing mark, which we talked about a minute ago, as when they line up and we get the bulb go out, we know that that spark is going to be at the plug. And that's really the basics of the way this system works. Yeah, I know today, you know, this is old school, this is old hat. If you look at the 1100, when I built the 1100 on an earlier video, there is no points. It's just two magnets. And as the cam goes round, this little rotor here on the auto advance mechanism, it works the same way as far as advancing the retarding the ignition, but there's no points. It's a pulse, a magnetic pulse, which goes into a magic box and then sends a pulse to the coils to spark the plugs at the appropriate time. So that's really the way that works. It's exactly the same on the other set of pistons, 2 and 3, and we can just go over and go around that and see what we got. So I'm going to come round, I'm going to take the bulb, sorry, the crocodile clip off, and I'm going to take the crank round 180 degrees. And we'll try and creep it round very carefully. We're coming up to the 2-3F now, which is this set of points. So I'm going to put my crocodile clip back onto the spring. The bulb is on. So what I'm going to do now is slowly creep that round. You have to excuse the aeroplane. As I creep it round to the F on 2 and 3, the bulb should go out. And it does. Now obviously we don't get a spark on this one. There, we don't get a spark because this is only working on cylinders 2 and 3. I'm not going to take the plug out of the inner cylinder because it's a bit of a pain, but I'm sure you get the gist of that. So that works like that, and if I go back a little bit, the bulb comes back on. If I go forward and line them up, the bulb goes out. Now I don't know if you guys can see that in there. Again, it's a bit tricky to see. Bulb is on. Oh, it just hit the... Let me just put that back a second. Bulb is on. Creeping it round. The bulb is off. Bulb is on. Creeping round as it comes to the F. Bulb goes off. So we know the timing is about as good as we can get it using that system. I hope that gives you an idea of timing points. Just take your time. Be aware that these plates can be a bit tricky because as you undo the screws, sometimes it can give you a false reading with the bulb coming on, going off, whatever. I always find just slacking them off and using the screwdriver here on the pry point, you've got more control of how much you change the timing in order to get it to get that bulb to go off when the F mark reaches the mark on the casing. But apart from that, I think that's probably as much as I can show you. Right, okay. Now you can see the way that works. What I'm going to do is take that off because we don't want to touch the frame on that because we'll end up with a short. I'm going to show you a closer connection of the wiring for that bulb. Piece of wire. One wire goes onto the battery, as I said earlier. The other wire goes to the bulb. The other wire comes off the bulb, follows through. And this is obviously your test lead, which you use on your springs to get your bulb to light up. I think that's probably it, really, guys. Can't really think of anything else, but yeah, any comments and any points, and if you've got another way of doing it, I'm quite happy to learn. But that's the way I've done it over the years. It seems to work fairly well. There are other ways of doing it, I think there's a machine which is a dwell angle machine, something like that. And I think you can use that, but I've not got one of those, so this is the way I do it. And I think it's relatively cheap and simple as well. You don't have to have this plug out, by the way. You can work without the plug, but some people might say, oh, that's a bit dangerous because it might ignite any fuel in the bore, but I've never had a problem like that. You notice it's quite away from the actual plug hole. Excuse me. So there we go. So yeah, any comments, please stick them down below. If you like what you see, please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And I'll try and get back to you with any remarks and any comments down below. But for me, I'll just switch cameras. For me, Gary, at Gary's Practical Workshop, I'm signing out. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.